Okay, good morning. It is a great honor for us to give you a warm welcome to our third symposium on innovative strategies in English language teaching, this time in a virtual environment. For that, and on behalf of our principal, Magister Matilde Camargo, and all the bilingualism team, we would like to greet everybody saying thank you for being here and being part of this. We are pleased to have a wide range of teachers of private and public school of Barranquilla, all gathered in this section. We hope this symposium can help you improve your English teaching process. In addition, we would like to thank you speakers who are from different institutions and universities. They are really important part of this, and we are totally sure we will learn a lot from them.
As we all know, education and the way we teach have been modified during this current month, and we as teachers have been facing new challenges to continue with our teaching process. For that reason, one of the main objectives of this symposium is to learn how to transform our teaching practices from real classroom to virtual environments, stimulating the exchange of ideas and offering a space to share the variety of perspectives and approaches that are in relation to English language teaching in this kind of environment. In the opening session of this symposium, we will now hear the words of our principal, Matilde Camargo Rodriguez.
Buenos días, señores ponentes, asistentes, docentes y vecinos docentes. Le damos la bienvenida a este tercer simposio de prácticas innovadoras en enseñanza del inglés. Durante los últimos 2 años, el mundo ha cambiado para nuestros niños y jóvenes debido a la pandemia. Es bien sabido que han sido los más afectados en todos los ámbitos: social, emocional, familiar y educativo. Esto último los ha llevado a sentirse cada vez más desmotivados y ansiosos. Es importante destacar que la educación virtual nunca reemplazará la educación presencial, y es en este punto enfatizamos que la actitud hacia el aprendizaje y la participación en las clases depende de nuestro rol como docente. Es ahí cuando nuestro papel en aula virtual y presencial, lo fundamental es convertirnos en docentes motivadores. Resaltamos que nuestra labor como docente implica compromiso y dedicación. Los estudiantes son el cuerpo principal de la enseñanza, son el núcleo de nuestro trabajo, teniendo en cuenta que son ellos quienes dan sentido a nuestro desempeño, como expresa Anatole France. 9/10 partes de la educación es motivación. Con esto destacamos que la principal herramienta que debemos aplicar en el aula virtual o presencial es la motivación. Los maestros deben implementar métodos innovadores para motivar a los estudiantes y comprometerlos en el aprendizaje. Es por ello que como institución desde el año 2019 hemos implementado nuestro simposio en estrategias innovadoras en la enseñanza-aprendizaje del inglés. El objetivo principal ha sido aportar un granito de arena a la generación de nuevas teorías de aprendizaje y de compartir experiencias de docente a docente. Este año nuestro tema ha enfocado en mejorar el compromiso de los estudiantes en las aulas virtuales, teniendo en cuenta que ellos son el centro del aprendizaje. Nuestro simposio emerge de la problemática que exponen comúnmente los alumnos durante las clases virtuales, y estos usualmente argumentan: no estoy motivado para aprender. Teniendo en cuenta la falta de participación y motivación en las clases virtuales, surge la pregunta: ¿están los profesores motivados para enseñar? Un maestro debe ser una persona que se motive a sí misma, porque se convierte en el focalizador principal del proceso enseñanza-aprendizaje y generador de emociones y dinámicas. Un docente motivado es una pieza fundamental en la regla de la enseñanza, y un docente apasionado tiene más probabilidad de crear alumnos apasionados. Con la realización de este simposio esperamos como institución generar teorías verificadas a través de la experiencia de nuestros ponentes y compartirlas para que la práctica docente tenga como componente principal the engagement. Gracias a todos los docentes y directivos, docentes, ponentes y asistentes, esperamos que sea toda utilidad este espacio creado.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Matilde. Once again, we extend our gratitude for your attendance. Today, we're happy to have you here. Thank you to all the speakers we have invited, because with their professional quality and their experience, we are sure we will increase our knowledge. Thank you for joining, and welcome to this symposium.
It's time to start, and we would like to present Dr. Amilkar Caballero, who currently works as a teacher and coordinator of Hispano-American and Caribbean Literature Master's degree, Master in Caribbean Studies from the National University of Columbia, and Doctor in Comparative Literature, the University of Arkansas, United States. He has a specialization in teaching languages of the University of Cambridge, England. He's director of the CELICA research group attached to the Atlantic University in Colombia, and categorized by Conciencias in Group B. He edits the magazine Notebooks of Literature of the Caribbean and Hispano-America, has published some books, as well as numerous articles in national and international journals. Let's welcome Dr. Amilkar Caballero, who will talk about Clil methodology in EFL remoto learning context.
Thank you so much. And I would like to thank all the staff of this symposium for the invitation to be part of this event that I know is a great opportunity for everyone in the city to share reflections, research on pedagogy, on teaching languages. So today I would like to share some reflections, some research. We have started at the university with a research group, with our research groups, on a topic that I think it's very important for the future of language teaching in the world. And this topic that I have chosen to share with you today has been gaining paramount focus, particularly in Europe, but it has been considered in Latin America recently, and in Colombia as well. So I would like to talk to you about Clil methodology, and I would like to share with you this presentation. Just give me a second. I'm going to share my screen. All right. Are you looking at my screen? I guess so. Yes. Okay. First, let me show you this short video in which they briefly explain what Clil methodology is about. All right. So basically, I'm gonna be explaining the fundamentals of Clil first. Then I'm gonna give you some. I'm gonna show you some examples of the approaches used in Clil, and finally, I will provide an example of how you can apply Clil. Now, the idea of this presentation is to advance a proposal on how to use Clil in EFL remote learning. Now, you will see that Clil was a methodology designed not for EFL teaching or learning. It was designed as a methodology for bilingual settings or to create bilingual settings. Okay, so basically, Clil methodology aims to improve language items acquisition. So we're talking here about grammar and vocabulary, but basically vocabulary, which is the focus of Clil, pragmatic and intercultural competence, cognitive and metacognitive skills, and motivation as well. So as you can see, Clil is like a master narrative of pedagogy. It tries to includes many of different approaches in teaching languages. All right, so Clil, as you can see, stands for Content and Language Integrated Learning. In Spanish, it is AICLE, which stands for Aprendizaje Integrado de Contenidos y Lenguas Extranjeras. And it's a dual-focused educational approach in which a second or foreign language is used for the learning and teaching of content and language with the aim of promoting both. But the good thing, a new thing about Clil is that it promotes both equally. Now, in the world, in the teaching of languages, we have two main methodologies, EFL or ESL teaching and content-based learning. EFL is used in non-bilingual context and CBI is used in bilingual context. So in the schools in Barranquilla, the bilingual schools, they use content language learning. In non-bilingual schools, they use EFL teaching. So Clil includes content that has to be meaningful and relevant. Intercultural understanding, which aims to motivate students to compare cultures, his or her own culture to other cultures in the world. Cognitive progression, because it moves from the basic to the complex. Processing, because it includes scaffolded content, and here the teacher plays a very important role. Instruction and development of skills. Well, Clil is opposed to the traditional model of teaching, which is called the banking model. It was called like that by Paulo Freire. And the banking model considers that the teacher is an expert who's supposed to deposit knowledge in the brain of students. So it is basically teacher-centered, teacher-controlled, teacher-led. So the teacher decides everything. Whereas Clil follows a socio-constructivist model, in which is student-centered, active learning. In the banking model, the learners are passive recipients of knowledge. Here, they are active builders of their knowledge. However, it is scaffolded, so it means that the teacher is structuring all the time the progression of skills and the provision of content. And the teacher facilitates the cognitive challenge based on the ZPD, which is Zone of Proximal Development. Basically, it is this area between what the student knows and what he's able to learn. And the teacher is supposed to become a bridge between these two areas. Here's like an illustration of how the banking model works. You see, here's the teacher, here are the students receiving all the knowledge in a passive way. And this is the way Clil works. And as any social constructivist approach, learners are the center of the process, and interaction is crucial. Okay, Clil aims to develop some competencies. The main one is cooperative learning and teaching. Cooperative learning because students learn cooperatively, so group work is paramount in Clil. But very important is cooperative teaching. So it means that I can't apply Clil by myself in my institution. I have to get together with the other teachers and make some agreements, plan beforehand, make some choices about the material, the approach, the way we as a whole are going to teach. A second competence is collaborative problem solving. So students are supposed to solve problems. And this leads to autonomous learning. So one of the main things is that students in Clil become autonomous learners and subjects. And mixed ability grouping. So this is basically that the teacher has to mix students in a very smart way so that he or she takes advantages of strengths of some students and weaknesses of others. And the key aspects of Clil are students don't see language as object of study, but as a means of communication. At the beginning, I was talking about the two main methodologies in language teaching, and I said EFL or ESL and content-based learning. In EFL, language is an object of study. In content-based learning, language is a means of communication. Okay. The teacher has to simplify content. And this is probably the only difficult thing about Clil, because you have to adapt the material, and it takes, of course, some time. And the teacher is also supposed to give more reading and lexical tasks. So it's very important, I was saying at the very beginning, vocabulary in Clil. Here I wrote reading, but also audio material. In any case, is content. So you have to provide more content to students. Yeah, and in this, it resembles content-based learning because content is very important. I'll show later the difference between Clil and content-based learning. Okay, and in Clil, you're using a foreign or second language as a medium of instruction for subjects. So this is the original idea, and today I bring a proposal to make a bridge between EFL and content-based learning, right? So it's more similar to content-based learning in that it is a medium of instruction for subjects, math, science, etc. Okay, what is the Clil framework? Okay, language of learning is basically the content provided during the sessions. Here, of course, it includes vocabulary and grammar about a topic. It has to be authentic, interactive, and not focus on grammar. This is the basic difference with the EFL teaching, because EFL teaching is focused on grammar, or grammar is the core of the approach. Language for learning is used as a way for fostering metacognition and acquiring the grammar system. And language of function is also a language of functions, inquiring, asking questions. So you're also teaching students functions that they need to communicate in everyday life. And also for metacognition, students learn some skills like memorizing, thinking, etc. And the third one is language through learning, that is based on cognition, and is basically the new language captured through the learning process. So you see the three ways language is seen in Clil. In EFL, language is seen as, or is based on languages, or the classes are about language. In content-based learning, through subjects, you acquire the language through content. Okay. As I said at the very beginning, Clil is like a master narrative of teaching languages because it tries to include or to take advantage of different approaches, methods of language teaching and learning. And there are two main ones considered in Clil methodology. The first one is approaches, the approach called task-based learning, TBL. This one allows students to work on production of authentic outputs using foreign language meaningfully. That is the importance of task-based learning. It is focused on production and on the use of the foreign language in a meaningful way. Obviously, it's not centered in grammar. There are 5 stages in this approach. Number one, the pre-task. Here, the teacher introduces the topic and the task the students are going to carry out. And there is a task cycle. First, the task, then planning, and then report. The language focus is analysis and practice. The language focus is usually at the end, and after the task is completed by students, teacher focuses on the language used during the task. So students are motivated to analyze, and also they are given some practice. The very important thing is that learners are encouraged to use any language, not specific language. Though teachers should provide linguistic support, but it should emphasize that they can use any language. So they are not forced to use a particular structures. That's why it is not like in EFL, focus on grammar. But obviously it has to use grammar. Stage one, in the stage one, teacher introduces topic and gives instructions on how students are going to do the task, and starts monitoring the process. In stage two, students work in groups, plan and do. In stage three, the planning is done. So students plan the output, how they are going to present what they organize in group work. And they prepare the process of production. So it's very systematic and very carefully designed. Stage four corresponds to the report. It's the moment when students report what they did as a group. The teacher should choose the order in which students are going to participate. But of course, he can motivate students to volunteer. And also gives feedback. It's very important to provide feedback. Okay, stage five, as I was saying at the introduction of the approach, it's the language focus analysis. In here, the teacher reflects by highlighting parts of presentations. So he emphasizes those parts of the presentations of the students that he considers will increase or improve language awareness of the language. Teacher teaches items chosen and has students practice. So the task has to end with a brief teaching of some items and some practice. Students practice those items. Okay, now let me show you an example of how to do task-based learning.
Hello, TEFL students. In this video, I'm going to demo for you a task-based learning activity. The topic is planning a party. This topic can be used with a wide range of ages and levels with adjustments. The structure of the video follows 4 stages: the pre-task, task preparation, during task, and post-task. Let's get started. Step 1 is the pre-task. The pre-task stage should mentally and linguistically prepare your students for the upcoming task ahead. There are many ways to do this. In this demo, I show you 3 ideas.
Okay, what makes a good party? Jorge? Okay.
Idea number 1 would be the use of brainstorming with a word web.
Okay, in your groups, I want you to keep going, okay? Keep going. What do you think? What are some things that make a good party?
Brainstorm idea number 2 would be the use of pictures and/or discussion questions.
Okay, let's take a look at picture number 1. What are they doing? Good, all right? They are ordering. All right, they're ordering food for the party. Good. Another one.
And perhaps the most common activity would be idea number 3, having your students read or listen to a model text that mimics the language they will use in the task ahead.
Look at the picture of the people. What do you think we're going to listen to? Yes, all right, we're going to listen to them plan a surprise party. Good, good.
In stage 2, you will prepare your students to be able to complete the upcoming task on their own. In order to do this, you need to give very clear directions. I commonly give each group 1 piece of paper with a step-by-step handout or a checklist for them to follow.
First, I want everyone to get into groups of 3. All right, first get into your groups. You're going to follow the handout. And then after, give us maybe 10-15 minutes. Okay, you're going to present your party idea to the class. Are you guys excited? All right, it's going to be fun. Let's get started.
In this important stage, students begin to independently build their task. Group collaboration and creativity take hold, and generally it's the fun and exciting part of the task. I quietly circulate around the room and make note of any weak or strong language features on a clipboard. Make sure that you encourage use of the target language. After this, the students will then act or present out their tasks. It's the point where I hope they proudly display their creativity and stretch their language abilities in doing so. As a teacher, I continue to remain low-key and continue to quietly take notes on the language being used. It's a fluency activity, so I don't commonly interrupt unless asked for help. If set up well, the stage is fun and engaging for everyone. When I'm done, my clipboard is often covered. To keep me organized, I take notes into categories. Only the most important language features get addressed. Always point out both strong and weak language features. To complete the activity, I address those key language features on the board with the class, and we reflect on the language we've learned through completing the task. This concludes my demo video. Please note there are many ways to execute task-based learning. I encourage you to explore other interpretations and find what works for you and your students. Thanks for watching.
All right, that was an example, a way to do task-based learning. Okay, and the second approach that is important for Clil methodology is project-based learning, PBL, that usually starts with a driving question. Then students start constructive investigations to answer that question. It develops, therefore, autonomy because they decide what to investigate, what information to include, and what to do, and also how to present the results of that research. And obviously, it's authentic in a way because students have to use authentic material, and they do it based on what they want to do and not following a particular structure or particular structures in the language. So PBL, in PBL, students are active participants who set their own goals, create meaningful relations through experiences among them, obviously, and also with the teacher. And as I said, it starts with a driving question, they investigate, and they produce a tangible product, which is decided by them. They decide what product they want to present. Okay, now another short video in which we can see an example of how PBL works.
Today, we're going to start a new project.
Teachers and their students have been doing projects since forever. More and more are doing project-based learning. So what's the difference?
That's a great question. Let's start off by reviewing.
Projects are typically limited in scope and duration. They're a good way for students to work with content they've already learned.
Flip to the paper that says sundial.
In project-based learning, students learn through the project.
Interesting.
They address a real-world problem, a driving question, one that can't be Googled and has no single right answer.
We were talking about how can we prepare for Atlanta's change in weather.
Students have voice and choice in PBL. Some input into how they'll answer the driving question.
Does anybody think they might have some ideas?
So they gain ownership of their learning.
So those questions led to our investigation.
They collaborate in a process of sustained inquiry, lasting more than a few days.
We've got a whole lot of work to do.
They reflect on their learning through discussions, formative assessments, and critiques of their peers' work.
We are going to take a look at one of your friends' work today.
And then revise their work based on those reflections.
On the sheet. Okay, there we go. We got it. You can type that.
The final product is shared with an audience beyond the classroom. Maybe that's professionals in a related field,
I appreciated how thoughtfully you responded.
or it could be the kids in the class next door. When students spend an hour exploring the 4 forces of flight by crafting a Mars lander out of paper, that's a project. When they spend a month simulating a Mars landing, analyzing the math and physics at work, and discussing their work with real aerospace engineers.
And it sounds like you've done a little bit of testing to see if that works.
Yeah. That's project-based learning.
Capiche? Capiche.
Research shows that rigorous PBL can result in higher engagement and deeper content knowledge.
Keep it up, okay?
Learn more about project-based learning at edutopia.org.
All right, as you can see here, we have 2 different approaches and 2 different ways of guiding students into acquiring language authentically and naturally. But the main difference between project-based learning and content-based learning is that project-based learning requires long periods of time. You do task-based learning in just one session, but you need several sessions for students to complete a project. Okay, but now the question, or my question, the question we started off in this project we are still working on is how can we use Clil in EFL classes? If by nature it is thought as a method for CBI context. I mean, Clil is basically for CBI context. And a possible answer could be we could borrow and adapt its principles and methodologies to EFL remote teaching learning contexts. So we made the EFL class look like a CBI class. How? Well, 3 possible ways: highlight and increase the use of content. So you give more content to your students, more content than the usual content provided by the textbook designed for an EFL class. Use a lexical approach. This is very important. So you give students more activities in which they work with vocabulary, which is one of the things that in EFL is usually neglected by teachers. So they provide more activities for grammar, but not for vocabulary. And obviously use TBL and PBL systematically and as part of all the sessions or the course. All right, now a proposal for a lesson plan in remote learning, in EFL remote learning. Okay, so first of all, you have to meet with teachers of other subject areas and identify content areas to explore cooperatively. So you need to meet with the social studies teacher, with the math teacher, with the Spanish teacher, with all the teachers, okay? And decide on some content that you should use together to share. This is usually what, you know, bilingual schools do. At the same time, they're teaching geography of, the geography teacher is teaching about, let's see, things you find in an ecosystem, in a marine ecosystem, and the language teacher, the English teacher, can use a reading about the same topic. So for students, it's very, very familiar when they start reading the text or watching a video, if it's a video. Or you can do the opposite. You can have the geography teacher to use the content, or to give students the content in English, or some content in English. Okay, but this is just something that most bilingual schools do nowadays. Okay, so how can you start a typical, I would say, bridge lesson, bridge between the EFL and content base using Clil? You should start with a chit chat, and in the chit chat, you introduce content and expose students to vocabulary related to the topic of the lesson. Usually, you should ask some questions that include vocabulary related to the theme, to the topic of the lesson. And if you are doing this on a video call, you should not only ask the question orally, but paste the questions in the chat for students to see it, to keep it there, to have it as reference during the whole lesson. Okay. Second, content delivery. This is part of the beginning of the task, because remember, in Clil methodology, you're basically doing task-based learning all the time. There are 2 options, the teacher's choice. So the teacher chooses a text or video that presents the topic of the lesson. Or student's choice, which is the one I like. And students search and present the content. This is what is called Clil web quest. They are supposed to find in the web, in the internet, text, videos, audio, material, or reading texts about the topic. Okay, later when I give you the example, this will be even more clear. The third one is raising awareness on vocabulary and grammar. This is after they have worked with the content. You should ask questions, fill in tables, label diagrams or maps, reorder information, have them reorder information, fill in the gaps, label stages of a process, among many possibilities. Number 4, reflecting on grammar. Grammar is not the focus, but it should not be set aside. Of course, it should be part of the process, of the teaching and learning process. Next one is discussing the project for the unit or course. Remember that project-based learning requires several sessions. So this is discussing the project for the unit, for the whole unit, about the topic of that unit, or for the course. So it could be a big project that might last the whole, a whole semester or a whole school year. Okay, this is an example. Suppose you're teaching a unit about technology. I chose it from a book, from an EFL course. This unit is called Technology Matters. In the chit chat, this could be the questions. Do you prefer to spend time with real friends face-to-face or online? Does it bother you if a friend you are with is always texting someone else? What's one thing that annoys you about technology? What do you do when your computer freezes up? What do you use the power core of your computer for? And as I said, I paste these questions in the chat. The chat box of the platform I'm using. Okay, then content delivery. Teacher choice, well, you can watch a video, and there's a video I chose. I'm not gonna show it right now. And they will answer some questions about the dangers and bad things of online gaming. Oh, wait just a second, we can, wait a second. Let's see if we can watch just 1 second. It's very short video. An issue with the laptop. Excuse me for a second.
Hey, good game. Want to play another?
Can't, it's getting late and I've got school tomorrow.
Me too. How old are you?
14, you?
13. But I'm going to be 14 in 2 weeks. I can't wait for my birthday. Whereabouts do you live?
Southampton. How come?
Me too. You should come over to my house so we can play together sometime. I'll get my dad to come pick you up.
All right. So as you can see, this video can help introduce the topic of dangers of the internet. And the idea is to do follow-up activities in which you ask questions about the bad things that you can elicit from the video, the bad things about the internet they can elicit from the video. Okay. or they can read a text, and here is the URL for that text, in which they have to scan info and fill in a chart. All right. See, next one. Okay. And then the next step is to use Quizlet. Quizlet is very good tool to teach vocabulary. It's like flashcards. I hope you have used this tool. It's very, very good. It's some flashcards with pictures and words to introduce the meanings of those words. And at the end, you can have them practice, because the tool gives you the opportunity to give them activities like writing the correct word, or doing choosing from different options the correct meaning for a definition. Okay, if it's student's choice, you ask some students to research about common interest in internet scams and to explain them using a way of presenting them to the class. You can have them present them using PowerPoint, or using whatever they think it would be good for their partners. Some other students will look up some words related to technology, and particularly the ones they use very frequently, and explain the meanings to the peers. They will also choose how to explain the meaning in the class, using again PowerPoint, or using simply the chat box of the platform you're using if you're using video calls. The others research about video games and explain in class what they found about online video games, which are very popular nowadays. Okay, next one is the step is to raise awareness. So here the teacher should ask them to list the vocabulary mostly used in the text. After the presentation of the different texts, students are supposed to make a list of the vocab that was probably recurrent in the presentations. And the teacher writes on whiteboard separable phrasal verbs related to technology and devices and things they use every day. Then he has students make sentences separating them or not. For example, I plug my computer in when the battery is low, or I plug in my computer when the battery is low. My brother always hooks up the PC4 to the TV, or my brother always hooks the PC4 up to the TV. I'm about to finish with this. Oops. Something is wrong. It's taking too long. It's my last slide. Let me go back and then forward again. Something happened. Let me stop sharing and share again. Just give me a second. Okay, anyway, you know, technical problems when you use technology always appear. All right, so the next thing is to work on vocab practice. I usually provide in this lesson a domino game using I lost connection with this site. Anyway, domino game using a Jamboard or any whiteboard, the one that you can find in the Microsoft, and that allows you to create some notes, and each note has on one side a verb, on the other side a particle, and they are supposed to have in different groups different dominoes, and they are supposed to put the dominoes in the correct way, the correct verb matching the correct particle. Okay, and a second practice activity is the hangman. You know, this hangman you can create online, and I usually have them work in groups, and they have to, of course, tell letter by letter in order to guess the words, obviously the words they have seen in the previous activities. And I usually give them extra points for those who provide the definition for the words. So not only they work on spelling, but they also work on the meaning of the words as well. Okay, and then it comes a very particular task. And the task is that I have some students explain what 3 online games are about, the instructions to play Roblox, Among Us, and Fortnite. If they haven't played those games, they have to research on the web and then find a way to deliver the instructions to the partners so that they know how to play the 3 games. Some other students are assigned a different task, which is discuss the good and bad things of each of these online games. And at the end,
Okay, we had some internet issues, so we are gonna wait for the teacher. Let's wait like 1 minute and we start again. Okay, I have some news. Okay, we have changed 2 links for our workshops because we have technical problems. So in the page, in the Facebook page, you are gonna find the links for the 2 workshops that are called Why Interaction Matters, Tips and Activities for Online Learning, that is gonna hold by Miguel, teacher Miguel, and Fostering Students' Motivation in Distance Learning, Nelsie, holds by Nelsie Welber. Well, we have again Amilkar Caballero.
Sorry for the interruption. An internet connection problem. Let me stop. Now I have to connect. Okay. All right, everything is back. Okay, so I was saying that I usually use the domino game with the Jamboard, then the hangman, and then the task in which students are to research about the 3 online games, Roblox, Fortnite, and Among Us, very popular nowadays. And I usually ask them to, and some other groups have to find or discuss the bad and good things about these 3 games. And I usually encourage them to use a Padlet. And Padlet is a very wonderful tool because they can either report their ideas writing with pictures or recording audios. So there are 3 ways of delivery, and depending on their learning styles, they will choose the best that suits those learning styles. And at the end, there is a debate about the good and bad things or the dangers of the internet, and in particular of online gaming, which is the topic in this particular task. And finally, the lesson ends with the assignment of the project for the lesson, which would be delivered as a talk show at the end, a webinar, or a written article about the dangers of the internet. The question is, what are the dangers of the internet? Remember that in project-based learning, we usually start with a driving question. So that's a driving question. But they could also have the option to choose their own way to deliver the final product. These are 3 ideas for them, but they could use the one they want. And first stage, they have to plan, decide on the topic. They have different options. They could choose online gaming, social networks, scamming, and they choose the means of report, any of these 3 options or another one they prefer. They have to gather information and make an outline. In second stage, they start organizing their ideas and they present a draft. And on the third stage is the final delivery. Okay, thank you very much for listening to this presentation. Like I said, it's the result of a project we just started at the university. And if you have any questions, I'm glad to answer them.
Yes, mister. We have some questions.
All right.
Carmen Padilla. Can we apply Clil methodology in any context and subject?
Yes, it was usually designed for CBI context, but my proposal and my experience and the experience of the research group that is working on this is that we can use it in any EFL context. And all you have to do is to apply the principles of Clil or adapt the principles of Clil to EFL context and the EFL approach. And that includes, as I said, delivering more content using more a lexical approach, so focusing on words, on vocabulary, and using task-based learning and project-based learning.
Okay, thank you so much, mister. Another question. Can we use Clil and diseño instruccional?
Yes, remember that I said that Clil it's open to many different methodologies, approaches, strategies. So it really admits anything you want, having in mind that, you know, that language should be used, or teaching is done through language, not having language as the object of study. So if you keep that in mind, you can adapt this or any methodology to Clil.
Okay, thank you, Amilkar. We had some comments here in the chat. And somebody said over here, Dr. Caballero, I didn't forget the monkey spot in your English literature class. Arledo Otálvarez. So we have another comment that was our mentor, that was written by our mentor, that said, it's a pleasure to have you here, Mr. Amilkar Caballero. So thank you for being here and to share your knowledge with us. It's a great pleasure to have you here.
I really thank you for inviting me to share these ideas, these reflections.
So if someone have another question, we will answer, obviously, in this section. And we are waiting. You can write your questions in the chat. Okay, if there are no more questions, we will continue with our workshop. Thank you, Amilkar. And okay. So in the following sections, we will have a workshops that start at 15 past 9. The first one is fostering student motivation in distant learning, held by Nelsie Huelva. Please pay attention, this link was changed because we have some technical problems. So you have to pay attention to our Facebook page and to have the link. We have the second one, that is practical life activities in the virtual classroom, hosted by Lilia Rosa Mosquera Consuegra. She holds a Bachelor in Education and she's an ESL teacher at Union Country High School. The third one is a students' engagement during COVID-19 pandemic, hosted by Tainieka Thornton, who is currently Educational Assistant Principal at Franklin High School, Thornton. And the fourth one is fostering engagement in the times of COVID, hosted by John Narvaez Mejia. And you have to pay attention because this link was changed, and we are gonna post on Facebook, on our Facebook page, the new link, okay? The fifth one workshop is Why Interaction Matters, Tips and Activities for Online Learning, hosted by Miguel Mejia Flores, who is currently EFL instructor at Centro Cultural Colombo Americano, philosopher and EFL teaching. The sixth one is a practical guide to promote engagement into virtual learning scenarios, hosted by Juan Carlos Quiroz Marenco, who is a Spanish ESL teacher at Franklin High School. And he has a master's degree in English language teaching, and he is certified as ESL teacher with Cambridge University, certified ESL. Also, he is a teacher from Virginia State University and WIDA. The seventh workshop is Keeping Track of Students' Performance in Virtual Environments, hosted by Aldemar Torres Cogollo, who has a Master in Educational Technology, and he is an EFL teacher, certified ESL teacher with Cambridge University. And the eighth workshop is Some Strategies to Keep Young Learners' Motivation in Virtual Lessons, hosted by Maria Isabel Gamboa Corrales, who has a Master in English Didactic. You can join the section using the list that we are gonna post on our Facebook page, so pay attention. Thank you for coming, for being here in our third Symposium of Innovative Strategy in English Language Teaching.